What's up everyone, how are you doing today? It's Angry Roleplay, and today I want to show you the build that I've been testing for the last week. I think after I stopped playing with the Rathma set, I immediately started testing the Corpse Explosion, and I fell in love with the setup, with the Corpse Explosion in general, and I created the build. It is quite powerful, I think, and it's quite interesting to play. Unlike any Trag'oul's builds and any other Corpse Explosion builds that you will see on the internet, this is not a speed farming build. This is a build to push the leaderboards. And when I started this kind of project, I was curious how far can I push with this build, because you know, everyone is playing Corpse Lance at the moment. The Blood Lancer build is very powerful and very popular in the leaderboards, but I specifically was very interested in Corpse Explosion, and I absolutely understood that Corpse Explosion is around 3 times less powerful than the Corpse Lance, and so I was curious how far can I push this build. And I cleared 87 today, and it surpassed my expectations far more than I even thought. You know, I thought I would start, you know, at the 80 and get stuck around, you know, 83, 85, but then I breezed through 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, and this is all was with a 1.7 million damage, so this is a very low damage. And then I finished 87 and I decided to stop there, simply because it becomes a little frustrating to push it at such a low damage and terrible gear that I have. But I came up with an understanding that this build has potential. It actually has potential to push the leaderboards. And what is more important is that it's not a Corpse Lance build and you do damage outside the Land of the Dead as well, unlike with the Blood Lancer. So I strongly recommend this build for anyone to try this, because it's a ton of fun, it's crazy shit, and it's about Corpse Explosion, guys. So how this shit works in general, and what's the deal about the whole setup. So let's start with the gear. First of all is 5-piece Trag'oul set, Trag'oul's avatar. We use Ring of Royal Grandeur in the cube, so it's 5-piece. We have the helm here. Stats should be int weight and hit chance. The shoulders int weight, CDR and Corpse Explosion damage here. Chest int weight and Corpse Explosion damage here. Disregard these shoulders, I don't have Corpse Explosion, still farming for this shit. Pants int weight armor, this is the only augmented item that I had. Trag'oul's butts are int weight, all resin armor. One of the rings is Unity will hit damage, hit chance and damage against elites, and another one is the Crispin Sentence or the Ring of Royal Grandeur, depending on which one is better. You know, Ring of Royal Grandeur always rolls with attack speed pretty much, so I think Crispins will be easier to get eventually. So this is my Crispins, and in a perfect situation you will need CDR, hit damage and chance. Also good attack speed, hit damage and chance, but intelligence, hit damage and chance is not bad at all. For the braces, we use the Nemesis braces, and the roll should be physical, int weight and hit chance. For the amulet, we have the Johnstone. This is one of the most important key items for the build, and the stats should be physical damage, hit damage and hit chance. The offhand is absolutely not important at all, just any maximum damage offhand you have. It's just a stat filler, because you know, using Relinas will get more powerful explosions, but Trag'oul's and an offhand will give us a little more hit chance. Specifically for my setup, I don't have hit chance on my Johnstone, so I'm lacking hit chance, and this gives me 10% hit chance with a huge for damage boost, and so we cube Relinas absolutely in the cube. So this is mostly the stat stick, the stat offhand, and you can use iron rolls or anything else offhand, absolutely doesn't matter. For the weapon, we have Trag'oul's Corroded Fang, preferably ancients, and the stat should be just int weight and CDR or int damage and CDR. CDR is exceptionally good to have. Keep in mind that you will need maximum essence for this build as well, so max essence on your Trag'oul's Corroded Fan and max essence on your offhand are very good to have. As for the normal gems, we have topazes, and you can use rubies for extra toughness as well. And I use amethyst in the helm for now, but in a perfect situation when you have more vitality, more armor, and more all good stats, all good items for the build, you may want to use diamonds in the helm, absolutely. Like diamond is king because you have CDR, and CDR is the king for this build. For the gloves, we have these gloves, Moribund gauntlets. These gloves are very important for our golem here, and with these gloves our golem sheds a corpse every second, and the stats should be int, hit damage, hit chance, and CDR. The belt is Dante's Binding, just the stat belt for damage reduction because they use the curse as well, and it's in sweet life and armor. This is it. So let's talk about other options and items in the cube. Like I said, we have maximum essence here, and the essence is maxed out out there in Paragon as well. And here we have Relentless Shadow Hook. Every point of maximum essence increases your damage by 0.5%, and Bone Spike generate 5 additional essence. We don't use Bone Spikes or any kind of generator in this build, purely relying on corpses, corpse generation, so this is mostly just for the global multiplier for more damage. The more essence we have, the more damage this gets. Here, as the number slot, we have Grasp of Essence. When an exploded corpse damages at least one enemy, your corpse explosion deals 100% increased damage for 6 seconds, taken up to 5 times. So basically this is a 500% increased multiplier for all our corpse explosion, and this is massive. This is massive, and this is mandatory. In a perfect situation, you will need to have Grasp of Essence cubed and wear the Moribund gauntlets. But if you have a really good Moribund gauntlets like Ancient, CDR and all that shit, and your Grasp of Essence is really terrible, low roll, you can switch them, vice versa, it doesn't matter. As for the ring, I prefer cubing Ring of Grandeur simply because, you know, I've got a pretty decent Crispins. It has hit damage, attack speed and intelligence, but, you know, it's not very perfect. I would perfectly like, you know, the intelligence, hit damage and chance here. I don't need attack speed at all, or maybe the trip factor will be good, but overall Ring of Grandeur should be in the cube in most times. So, how this works in general, look at this. 2-piece bonus Blood Rush gains the effect of every rune, and what it means is that we shed a corpse as well, because we have this rune as well. We have the molting. So we have all runes here. We have the armor from the potency, transfusion, and the molting as well. Leave a corpse at your original location when used, so we always have the corpse here. So this is it. For the skills, on the left button, Decreepify, Borrowed Time. This is a curse that procs our Dainty's Binding, and also this is the shit that gives us 20% cooldown reduction, which is very important for us. So just Decreepify every monster that you see ahead all the time. Don't let them jump on you. Always CC them, because we also have this passive here, Spreading Malediction. Receive 1% damage bonus for each enemy affected by one of the curses as well. On the right button, Corpse Explosion, Final Embrace. This is the only rune that is suitable for Trag'oul's avatar, because we spend life to explode the corpses, and this is very interesting how it works in general. If you take a look at this description right here, target an area exploding up to 5 corpses within 11 yards, dealing physical damage, and corpses pull themselves towards the nearest enemy before exploding. This is the running corpses, and here's the trick, guys, because it's not very easy to notice. What does it mean is if you target an area here and here and here, or even a monster, the corpse will still be where they are. There is quite a close area that you need to target before near the corpse. It is 11 yards radius here, and so you need to target the area near the corpse pretty close, and then it triggers and it explodes. So if you target a little far of it, a little far behind, and if you target the monster, nothing will happen. The best deal is to just target the corpses or something near the corpses like this. So this is it. On the first button we have Blood Rush. This is all our mobility and also armor. So I recommend stacking armor as much as possible on pants, and the boots always have armor, guys. Here is Command Golem, Flash Golem. Now how this shit works in general. Look at this. Active. Command the golem to the targeted location where it collapses into a pile of 8 corpses. So when we destroy the fucking golem, it just rounds and fucking destroys, and then we can just spam this. But you know, this is not very recommended to do often, because the golem is more useful when we actually shed corpses. And if we go right now to the Great Rift, he will shed a corpse every second. So you need in a perfect situation, you will need the uptime of your golem 100%, and only destroy him like you need to finish the elite or something like very sketchy, very dangerous. Or if the Rift Guardian like 20 seconds left and you especially need this, you know, last punch in the face to kill the Rift Guardian, to kill the elite, this is when you command your golem to fucking suicide. Keep in mind that exploding corpses also, it also spends your life, so do not die, you know. This is very important. Now here, the corpse skill that we use is Devour, Cannibalize. This is consumes corpses within 60 yards to restore essence per corpse, and each corpse consumes also restores 3% health. This is the only skill here in the whole setup that refills our essence. We use essence to cast the Creepify, so when we cast the Creepify more and more, we ran out of essence. That's why we need to devour once in a while. And as I wrote in my Diablo fans guide, you need to devour only when you're spending corpses actively. This is most of the time is just within the Land of the Dead, because when you're in the Land of the Dead, you are sucking corpses and exploding corpses at a tremendous pace, and this is where you're losing life tremendously. And this is when you need to press devour once in a while to suck a bit corpses around and refill your health. I will explain how it works in general. This is our main skill for getting stacks of Johnstone. Look at this. Each corpse consumed in the Land of the Dead grants a stack of Macabre Knowledge. Macabre Knowledge increases the damage of corpse lands and corpse explosion by 150% while outside Land of the Dead. So, inside the Land of the Dead, this is where we get tremendous amount of corpses. And this is where we get our stacks. I recommend pressing mostly the right mouse button for corpse explosion, and also once in a while press devour to refill your health so that you won't die. You will fall really low on health if you just explode the corpses and not consume them. So you should need to find the perfect balance in spending corpses and consuming corpses as well. So this is it. Inside the Land of the Dead we gain the stacks, and this stacks is our Macabre Knowledge that Johnstone gives us. And this is what buffs our corpses damage outside the Land of the Dead. And when you watch this Great Rift clear at the end of the video, you will see how do I play this build. So basically, inside the Land of the Dead, I gain the corpses stacks, and outside the Land of the Dead, I just follow my golem, I teleport and use this corpse stacks to explode inside huge packs, to proc area damage, to proc massive explosions, because I have plenty of stacks, and this increases my damage greatly. So I actually use these stacks to destroy anything outside the Land of the Dead. So this is it. I really like this build because you actually can kill monsters outside the Land of the Dead, not just inside. Inside the Land of the Dead, it's quite easy to finish elites. And this is where you get most of the stacks and most of the damage, because you're machine gunning corpses like crazy. But outside of the Land of the Dead, you get tremendous amount of stacks, and when you generate density and run around, circle around, and just explode these corpses around them and inside the packs, this is where you do quite a bit amount of damage pretty much the same amount of damage that inside the Land of the Dead. So the best trick here is just to do not waste your stacks, do not die, and try to save your Land of the Dead as much as possible. Do not just waste it all the time. As for the passives, there are quite a bunch of passives, but most of them these are pretty much mandatory, and these are the passives that I used during my extensive tests, and these passive are proved to be very, very good. Thus, this one is passive standalone, increases the armor by 100% and reduces by 10% because we have the golem here. So try to stack armor as much as possible in every slot, at least the pants and the boots, and shoulders. If you have shoulders with armor instead of area damage, you know, use this. CDR and corpse explosion here is very good, but armor is exceptionally good here as well. So the next passive is spreading malediction. Receive a 1% damage bonus for each enemy afflicted by one of your curses. We usually cast Decreepify all the time, so most of the time we get 20% increased damage because of this. All of them messes increases our essence by 40, and this is huge boost, trust me, this is huge. This is like, you know, 10 to 20% more damage. This is pretty huge and important. And another passive is Blood is Power. This is just a cheap 20% CDR here for us because we're constantly losing life, so we get this buff all the time, and it just helps towards the Land of the Dead, and it's extremely good as well. Another thing that you can use here is also the Blood for Blood, but I do not recommend it. Draw Life is extremely strong in pair with the Wild Beast Gizzards. And another decent passive here is also Dark Reaping, and let me check, and Life from Death as well. Life from Death, I actually use Life from Death instead of Spreading Malediction, but eventually all I thought I need is more firepower. That's why I dropped Life from Death for Spreading Malediction, and I never looked back because I need simply more damage. Surviving is still a huge issue with this build, guys. I mean, Trag'oul has no built-in damage reduction. It's just, you know, kind of crazy recovery all the time, but the damage reduction doesn't exist, so it's very fragile. You know, don't be scared by the gameplay. It's not super jelly. I did 87 with just very low toughness here. It's no big deal. Just move across, teleport, blood rush all around. Don't be silly. Don't try to tank. You cannot tank shit with this build. It's not a tanky build at all. It's more like dancing around, manage your corpses, explode shit, and melt the mobs. That's it. Legendary gems are this Stone of Vengeance. This helps to proc Crispin sentence because we use stuns, and most of the time the build itself is kind of ranged gameplay, so this is very, very good DPS gem here. Another gem that helps us with recovery, because, you know, esoteric will not help you much if you cannot recover with this build, is Modern Wild Beast Gizzard here. It's just pure life recovery. And another is just Being on the Trap, no-brainer DPS multiplier here. The only gem that is kind of useful is the Bane of the Stricken, because it's helped tremendously with the Rift Garden. You can get plenty of stacks on the Rift Garden, kill it much faster. The only gem that I recommend switching to this is this Stone of Vengeance, but you may have a hard time proccing Crispin Sentence without the Z Stone of Vengeance. Another thing that I want to say about this build in general is that it build loves area damage. That's why, if you can, try to stack area damage. But remember, Corpse Explosion is the biggest damage skill multiplier that you can have. So Corpse Explosion on chest and shoulders, then CDR everywhere, shoulders, gloves, scythe, offhand, rings, everywhere, CDR everywhere, and then goes the area damage. For now, I'm a bit undecided if I can drop CDR for area damage, because CDR is still a king. CDR is Land of the Dead. Most of your cooldown reduction goes here to the Land of the Dead. So this is it, guys, and watch the clear behind the video. It's a ton of fun, and I totally recommend this build to try for everyone. Have fun, see you soon.